for coming. So I will explain to you a little bit about Monash IT. Monash Global Network. So we are one of the biggest campus, offshore campus of Monash. So there are altogether 5 campuses of Monash. The main campus is in Melbourne. And we have campuses in Italy, India, Indonesia, and China. And Malaysia is the third largest campus. The largest and the second large campus is in Australia. So in Australia, they have 4 campuses there in Clayton, Caulfield, Parkville, and Peninsula. All right. Monash ranking. Monash has been consistently ranked among the top 100 universities in the world. And in the recent 2024, Monash has been ranked 42 in the QS World University Ranking. And in all the other rankings, we also have done quite well. Let me share with you a little bit about the inception of our campus. Monash is the first foreign university to establish a campus in Malaysia with degrees quality assured by TEXA. It was established in 1998. And throughout the years, Monash continued to achieve recognitions from, for instance, in 2010, we achieved and gained self-accreditation from MQA. In 2020, we achieved the MIRA accreditation. And last year, 2023, we are rated competitive by the Satara ratings. In terms of our community, there are 7 schools in Monash, Malaysia. The IT school is the 3rd largest school, which is about 16% of the number of students in the whole campus. There are more than 27,000 students graduated from Monash since its inception, and more than 900 students have completed PhD with Monash since its inception. We have more than 9,700 students from 77 countries. The proportion of local and international students are about 69% to 31%. The top 5 countries of where our international students come from are China, Indonesia, Sri Lanka, Japan, and Bangladesh. We have more than 900 staff from 35 countries, and we have a proportion of 85% of our academic staff hold a doctoral degree. Let me come to specifically the School of Information Technology. The School of IT, Monash, Malaysia, is the top computer science school among all the universities in Malaysia, including the private and public universities in Malaysia. It is the #1 CS school or computer science school in Malaysia. Our programs that we offered are undifferentiated, which means you have the same quality, the same learning materials, lecture materials, exams, courses, exactly the same as Australia. So it is an undifferentiated degree. And upon completion, in your certificate, it will not be printed, like for instance, Malaysia campus on your certificate. It will just be printed as Monash University. All right. So the courses that we offered is undifferentiated degrees programs with the same quality system under the faculty curriculum. And it is accredited by Engineers Australia and Australian Computer Society. Our courses are also compliance with MQA and MBOT. And recently, Monash Malaysia School of IT was awarded the Premier Digital Tech Institution, PDTI status by MDEC. Here are the lists of programs that we offered. Bachelor of Computer Science, Bachelor of Computer Science in Data Science, Bachelor of Computer Science Honours, which is a one-year program that you can undertake after you completed your 3-year degree program. Bachelor of Software Engineering, which is a 4-year program, automatically comes with an honours degree. For postgraduate degree programs, we offer 3 coursework programs, which are Master of Business Information System, Master of Artificial Intelligence, Master of Data Science. And if you are interested to do PhD or Master by Research, we are always welcome you to ask. If you need more information, you can scan the QR code on the bunting on my left and also on my right to get more information about the courses that you are interested. The postgraduate coursework and all our programs are professionally accredited by Australian Computer Society. The advantage of the course being accredited by Australian Computer Society is you are ensured of a quality education and training in ICT. Australian Computer Society, or ACS, is a professional association in Australia supporting the ICT professionals, and it is the official accrediting body for the IT sector. So courses accredited by ACS ensures you that you are learning the relevant and up-to-date skills which are in demand by employers in Australia and globally. Our postgraduate coursework programs, we offered it in 2 modes, part-time and full-time. For international students, you need to enroll as full-time students. You need to do it full-time. But for local students, you have the options to do it part-time or full-time. You can complete the programs between 1.5 years to 4 years. And we have 2 intakes, February and July. And we also offer tuition fee waiver. So please kindly scan the QR code and also check the link to get more information about the courses if you are interested. I would like to share a little bit about our students. The students in Monash are very active. They take part in competitions. Like for instance, they took part in entrepreneurship and technopreneurship camps. They organize study trips to Singapore to discover the startups ecosystem there. They organize the Mind Engine Expo. They took part in competition, well-known competitions organized by Google. And they also actively participate in internships with top-notch companies like Estee Lauder and many more. Our staff and students also highly involved with industry partners. For instance, last year, 2023, British Petroleum sponsored the Computer Science and Data Science Project Award for our students because they recognize the exceptional quality of work produced by the school's undergraduates' final year projects. Our staff also participate in technological forums to share about the latest research and also the latest information about technologies. So with that, if you have any questions about courses, our undergraduate courses, and also our master's postgraduate degree programs, feel free to contact me, or you can take a look at our website to get more information about the courses. If you want to know more, or if you want to ask any questions, yeah, feel free to come and talk to me afterwards. Okay, with that, I will pass back to, I will invite the speaker. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, should be fine. How do I change back to my slide? Hello, how's everyone today? Look very tired. Coming from work or what? Are you all hungry? Are you hungry or what? So thank you for coming. So how many of you guys have been joining our meetup for monthly meetup? Is it the first time or have you been joining this meetup more than one time already? Only you, Susan? How about the rest? First time? Oh wow, so many first timers today. Okay, so as probably you're aware, you are actually coming for our AI and machine learning Malaysia monthly meetup. So far we have already 4 meetup that we planned for this year. So we intend to also continue our meetup every month. For example, last month we have a meetup at AWS office. Then previously we have a meetup at Google office. We started our meetup of a year at Zenit office. So we intend to continue doing this meetup as we go along. Okay. So before we start with the next speaker, I just want to give you a brief introduction about our group. So I'm not sure whether because you guys most of you guys are first timer here. Are you guys join the Facebook group? Okay. If not, please join the Facebook group. So if you can see now, we have around it's very blur. We have around 91,000 members there. Please do join. So we constantly have our events and then notice and maybe the latest news. We share resources, everything through our Facebook group page. So if you have not joined, please do join our Facebook group page, so you can get the latest info. We also have a Discord page also, if you would like to join the Discord page. But please join the Facebook page. You get a lot of latest news, resources, events that we organize. For example, recently we actually organized a Kaggle hackathon. I'm not sure how many of you guys have participated in Kaggle hackathon. So for the whole month of March, so we have an online Kaggle hackathon. So we are very happy that the result that we have around 90 over participants that joined the hackathon. Then we have around like 20 notebooks shared. So it's a kind of like a things that we always encourage the community to to participate. and also take part of all these hackathons, so you can actually apply your knowledge in AI, ML, and then see how you can actually further connect yourself with other communities, especially in the area of AI or ML in Malaysia. Okay, so without further ado, I think I will start first session with Dr. Yong Poh. He will actually talk about vector embedding. So I'll pass the floor to Dr. Yu. So you need to use this one. Go back here again. Yes.
Okay, thank you, Kuan Hong. First of all, thank you, this AI and Machine Learning to Malaysia user group for inviting me to be the speaker here. And thanks, Monash, for what they call it, can I say that sponsor this venue to us as well. Thank you for that. Okay, so just want to have some interaction with you all. Have you taken your dinner just now? I think that Kuan Hong asked already, but then it came to with no response, I guess. So have you had, if those who had already, please raise your hand. A couple, majority not yet, right? So are you hungry? Yeah, so, okay. So in other words, right, I try to make it faster and also more efficient. Okay, by the way, today the title here is an introduction to embedding and vectors. So from the name you see that it is introduction. Therefore, I'm not going to touch very details or very bombastic technical terms, but just have a brief you the fundamental idea about what embedding and also vectors are. So have you ever heard about embedding and vectors? Please raise your hand. Quite a couple. But I guess you all have heard it during the school time, right? Vector, isn't it? Okay, vector 1 times vector 2, dot product, cross product, so on and so forth. That is actually something relevant to this. Although today the type, of course, it's not a mathematics class, it's not talking about vectors, it's more about the vectors for LLM, large language model. Particularly nowadays, people keep talking about AI, right? Although we so literally, we say that AI covers everything. Even the simple model, mathematical models, is also part of AI. But nowadays, people tend to link AI to LLM, vice versa. Okay. So from here, right, and also from the deck, which maybe I pass it here, you may just use your mobile phone to scan this QR code to get the deck. And those who are interested to connect to me, right, please feel free to go to the first slide. I have my linking, GitHub, and also my personal website as well. So feel free to interact with each other. I like to interact with many people with a different background, and especially students, which I think here maybe half or even more than half are students, right? Can I move on? Okay. So I go back here, just a disclaimer. So today, right, whatever I present here, right, is at personal capacity. It doesn't represent any university or any corporate or a company. And on the other hand, whatever example I gave later on, right, is just also that it doesn't mean that I endorse it or something like this. It's just mainly for the knowledge sharing, not for profit knowledge sharing. Okay. So as usual, I know that especially university, right, we must give some main references. So from the deck, you can, for more details about whatever I'm going to present later on, try to take a look on this one. Okay, what I will cover later on, right, just 3 parts, or maybe I will say that it's about 4 parts. The first one is the big picture with LLM. I just briefly introduce what LLM is all about. And then after that, why embedding and vectors are so important. Why these two things, right, or these two methods are linked to LLM. Indeed, right, we can also treat them separately, individually. And the last one is the application and use cases. I'm going to discuss a little bit by using some real-time, so-called real-life use cases, and also some simple demo that I created, put into my personal website. Okay, so the first one, the big picture with LLM. Just want to ask also that How many of you have ever used any LLM tools here? Please raise your hand. Be it the ChatGPT, or I think majority. How many develop it, put into your own GitHub? I think much lesser already. Okay, so there is a difference between as a user versus as a developer, whereby the user, I think now by paying, let's say 20 USD, and then we can access the account and then ask the ChatGPT to create image for me or something like this. But as a developer, of course, there are a couple of concerns. Like example, if we want to say, okay, let's say I have a database, which is keep all our data, let's say university data or corporate data, and we want the AI to access for us and then directly tell us all the insight that we ask. Like example, just say university, access the database, and we want to know that how many students graduated with first class in the past 5 years, and the AI can return directly. If last time, right, of course, we require some data analyst or at least maybe the DBA, database admin, to try to write some SQL code and then try to, and then after 3 days, present the outcome or the output. And maybe through something like Tableau, Power BI to visualize it, to link it together. But right now, right, thanks to this LLM, thanks to all this AI, right, if we deliver it nicely, link it nicely to the back end, then we can actually create something we call it a virtual analyst, virtual data scientist, virtual data modeler. And all these virtual AI, right, will help us and then try to answer us. So the same thing also, if we were to check it, right, like example, especially in the corporate world, we are talking about ROI, we are talking about revenue. So what is the revenue, what is the ROI in the past few years, and then what kind of insight? So I tried before also that I designed my own solution, and then I just pass dummy data, actually it's a real data but from Kaggle, and then I really ask the AI to interpret for me, come up with some EDA, come up with some modeling, and then predict accordingly. So what is the future, and so on and so forth. So nowadays, right, just with just a so-called within 5 seconds or what's at the time that I even haven't finished drinking my coffee, right, the AI already tell me all the answer. Okay, that is the part. And the back end, all these things is about the LLM, which you can see from here that there is a jumping between the learning step and also the inference step. So from here, right, one thing is that when we talk about LLM, is that we need to know the prompt engineering. Prompt engineering here means, of course, that how we interact, how we ask the AI to link together. So in this case, I try to imagine, right now AI is also like human. So of course, that until now, I'm still learning how to talk to my wife. Okay, so when the first time when I was the so-called knew her, I tried to learn, during the so-called romance time, I also tried to learn. Until now, already got kid, my kid already entered school, I still try to learn how to talk to the human. But the same thing here, how to talk to the AI, right, will determine that how success the AI is. Same thing, if I treat my wife nicely, of course I can get better harmony and so on and so forth, right? So the same thing, how we put that. The proper term here is a prompt engineering, which here I just touch a little bit, which I would like to focus on the third part, which is the chain of thought, COT. So this COT, like we can say, is something like a strategy. So we don't already ask, like example just now, I said in this university or else this company, right, they already ask what is the revenue, blah, 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 all these things. We can start with one by one, so that to let him understand step by step. That is something that we call it the COT. Actually, all these things, right, they just so-called follow or imitate humans' communication. So the COT here, like example, first we can ask that, okay, so now go to investigate School of IT. Just focus on Master of Data Science and Master of AI, for example. Then after that, investigate and also come out a number of students and so on and so forth. Then finally, what is the revenue that we can generate from here? Okay. So how to get a good prompt, as mentioned just now, we have a couple of steps, which but I think that COT is more important. Okay. So I here also that want to highlight the position between the fine-tuning and also prompt engineering. So these two, right, of course, in terms of theory, there are quite a number of difference. But when the fine-tuning here, it also comes with a few things. The fine-tuning I'm going to talk, right, is about how are we going to fine-tune the LLM as a developer. So in this case, right, some people will say that there's of course a fine-tuned API, let's say from the ChatGPT or OpenAI. There is also the new one like RAG to make sure that the AI won't be hallucinated. This one really happened to me. Last time I tried to ask my AI system. I call her as Jane, Jane. She is my personal assistant, and I need to so-called discuss with my wife so that she won't misunderstood that I have a so-called personal assistant. Okay. Anyway, right, I asked the Jane, give me a couple of the references, the latest one, with whatever the topic related to the TB. The TB disease I wanted to understand, and then I asked the GPT or any LLM, right, to answer. She immediately returned blah, 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 all these things. But when I really went to check, right, there's no such research paper at all. There's no such, it's just out of sudden she hallucinated herself and then come out with all these lists. So this is gonna be very dangerous, especially if they say just now we go back just now, if we are talking about corporate, my boss asked me, and I suppose I said that my AI can help me to, reply or respond you to within 5 seconds. But it simply give, okay, the revenue, 1 million, for example. Then gonna be a big trouble, right? So we need to fine tune accordingly to make sure that it really tally to our. That is a speak from experience. So we really have to do that. And on the other hand, of course, from the prompt state, right, is to ensure that because the AI already know the LLM, if let's say it's linked to database, for example, right, then by giving the COT and so on and so forth, right, they manage to understand and give you the correct way. Which again, you just put a standalone question versus multiple guided questions. That is also quite similar to, I think, if let's say in the academic term, right, we have something we call it directed instruction learning, DIL, one type of the learning methodology. So the same applied to this AI as well. Okay, so the COT example here, I will just skip since I talked here just now. So I will focus on today the more important part about this embedding and also vectors. So in this case, right, in short, embedding here means we change it from a very tough content, change it to a simple one, represented by a series of number. And this a series of number eventually is vector. So if let's say, for example, polis Malaysia would like to say, polis dan masyarakat berpisah tiada. Then I will say that embedding and vectors also berpisah tiada, in a sense. The thing here is that how are we going to embed it to make it useful, less memory, and most important, is very unique. But here, when we say unique, let's say example, if I take image of me, I myself, okay, and also let's say Kuan Hong, okay, and professor, for example. Each of us, right, once it is embedded into a certain vector, then we have our own, like a unique serial number, something like this. But when we really check it, right, relatively, my face probably is closer to Kuan Hong's one because we two are male. So the system will measure it with something we call it distance. Now we come to all those, last time we learned the vector, we have the distance, right, cosine, theta, all these things. So the same application also that we can apply to, like, example, just how I mentioned the facial recognition. Then audio recognition. In insurance domain, let's say example, we will want to understand let's say the level of the severity car damage. So you know that what's that when we want to claim insurance, for example, right? Those car images, so how damaged it is, what kind of level, and so on and so forth, right? So for each image, if we will level it nicely, and then this image, right, are stored into a respective vector through the proper embedding methodology or techniques, then all these images are, again, it has its own unique identity, which is a vector. But on the other hand, those with a similar images, they will be grouped into one group. So you might think that this is quite similar to a traditional data science, or what they call it, statistic modeling, which is something we call it clustering. We cluster them into one group for those who are closer, who are similar, into one group. But then the thing is, yes, answer is correct. Most of the time, embedding and also vectors, right, are used for something similar to clustering or segmentation. But the thing is about the technical methodology behind. Okay. So in the sense, right, some theory here, embedding, right, means that a way to represent this compressed information, especially like text and images that I mentioned just now, using a set of numbers. It translates into a low dimension space. So always, what they call it, during the unit time, I also always heard that like high dimension vector to low dimension space vectors. What does it mean? Then sometimes you might have heard PCA, principal component analysis. And then all those what percentage of the variance explained by this axis or this vector, so on and so forth. All this what they call it the alien language. We tend to call it alien language. But how to translate it? In short, right, the example here is, if you take a look on the human images, okay, facial images, right, it's let's say I say 4K. So the, not even 4K, just HD, let's say 1920 times 1200. That is equivalent to 1 million points, 1 million pieces, roughly plus or minus. So in the sense that, which means that mathematically, it has 1 million or more than that dimensions. But what we are going to do is, I just want to recognize the people. Let's say a few of us, 5 of us. I want to down it to 5. How can the system do for me? So it must through a very bombastic mathematical equations to come out. So this is the example here, why we call it translate it through this way. So again, some people might say that PCA, principal component analysis. Have you ever heard PCA, or are you using? Some of you. So indeed, right, PCA is also considered as a one type of embedding before the era of LLM. It's just that now with this LLM, right, it seems that PCA is already, okay, you can retire already, please. Okay, but indeed, right, I'm still using PCA for my daily work as well, in addition to all this bombastic AI. Okay, so example, this one I captured from the Google, which again, just now in the one of our main references that you can take a look, is the online available, the whole content. So we have all these movies, right? We want to organize by similarity. Again, just like just now the clustering, by similarity, how it looks like. So if we put it right, it cut into the 2 dimension because we just want to understand in terms of the either the blockbuster or else adult children content. So each is grouped accordingly. So come into, in this case, to visualize it, the easiest way is just to put 2D. So which part is that? But again, all these are related to the images and videos. We can't really afford that someone to just watch this video 2 hours or 3 hours and then give us a summary to say this what and what. We would like the machine to do for us. So that is why this embedding is so important and come out. Okay, so the D dimension is something I mentioned just now. What if we have multiple dimensions here? Then we can use it through the embedding. Whereas again, vector means, just as I said, a set of numbers. So in this one, right, in this case, right, is that everyone has his own unique. And therefore, when you want to apply to an application, for example, right, make sure that the method you're using is the same. For example, you use, I use OpenAI embedding, right, to embed me or to embed something like this, right. I must continue to use it for my real application. Okay, so that it is apple to apple, then it can really measure the similarity as well as the major differences. And of course, the most important here, right, in the end, is that all these vectors we have to store into a vector database. Compared to a traditional tabular database like the typical SQL that we learn, right? Nowadays, non-SQL is getting more and more important. One of the very popular non-SQL and also their database, right, is a MongoDB. That is more like we call it document based. But after that, right, come out with like time series database, graph database like Neo4j, if not mistaken. Okay, and then so on and so forth. And until now, vector database is getting very, very popular. There is a proprietary version. There is also open source, whereby I think most of the time we are using open source databases. Then in this case, right, this is an example. Just take a look here. So this one, the simple one. Okay, so these 2 TV shows, right, suppose it has its own genre, year departed, episode length, so on and so forth. And there is a 3rd one, which is Cheers. So if I were to ask you, this Cheers, right, is more similar to which TV show? What do you think? Cheers is more similar to which TV show? Any answer? Sorry? Okay, Seinfeld or Wednesday. So of course it's Seinfeld, right? Because of the similarity, sitcom now and then 1982, which is so-called the old movie or old series, 21 to 25 episodes. So from here, from ISA, that we can take a look at here. But how are we going to convert all these categorical variable and also raw text? And what if it's a 1 million data? So on and so forth. So we need the AI to help us, right? So it's based on this concept, further embedded and save as vector. Okay. So another example, this one I think I also captured from Google, collaborative filtering. Just in case if you ask what is collaborative filtering, right? It's a technical term for recommender system. Recommender system, all of us are involved. As long as you are using Touch Angle, you are using, what else? Lazada, for example, Shopee, right? There is a corresponding recommender system to us. You are using YouTube. The moment open YouTube, right? It come out a lot of whatever movie or music, so on and so forth. Those are based on the recommender system. And this kind of recommender system, right, one of the technique to use, right, is we call it the collaborative filtering. It's something like based on human behavior and preferences. For example, last 2 days, I keep listening to some, let's say, romantic songs. So this 1, 2 days all about my time, like Westlife, Backstreet Boys, so on and so forth. But then after that, I changed it to some scary movie, zombie, Walking Dead. That particular few days, right, all about all this kind of thing. Okay, so therefore, the same thing that is how you use here, based on whatever the user movies that we are watching, it go through. Okay, so this is the one that used by the GPT embedding API. Of course, if you ask me, honestly, I also don't know internally how it does. We just have some high level because it's a proprietary. We don't really know the whole back end. Okay, but at least this is a diagram that we can see that it's relatively quite complicated. Okay, so some application and use cases. The first one is my favorite, FAQ chatbot. So we can now make use of this AI to create our own chatbot and answer the corresponding or particular question. This is gonna be very, very helpful for what? Let's say university, we have FAQ to the students. Let's say if we want to summarize, let's say a corporate, always there's a terms and conditions, FAQ, right? Super long list, right? 100 pages, so on and so forth, right? But we just ask the system, just refer to that, and then answer whatever the customer's questions. No more than that, not beyond that. Something that is beyond, don't answer. That is something that can replace, what they call it, can replace all those customer service, right? Okay, but all those we call it the low-skill jobs. So that a human can continue to provide more creative and also more so-called high-skilled contribution. And of course, there are some other, like example, customer experience support. Product recommendation is also something that I love it. Also, again, it's a recommender system. Okay, so in terms of the use case, here I put it one is a Daily Motion. So Daily Motion is we can say is a competitor to YouTube. And how it does at the back right, of course, this is their theory to put it. Once they get the video content, the left hand side here, then through some personal recommendation, and recently, right, they also put some opinion-based recommendation. That means a human can put their own opinion about this video, so on and so forth. Then they understand whether to continue to show you this or not. Because sometimes that is, okay, of course, let's say individually, I watch all those Walking Dead, whatever, all this scary movie, all this thing, horror movie. But then, right, in my show, it give me something like, let's say, 28 days later, Resident Evil. Maybe some are my favorite, some are not. By giving some opinion, let's say I say, okay, I don't like 28 days later. So from there, right, at the back end, whatever all these embedding and also the vectors, right, he further search, those are relevant to the 28 days later, right, won't be recommended to me. This is one of the example. So in this case, it's at the back end how it used. And the global architecture of this new opinion-based recommender system. Of course, I capture all these things because they already published online. That means it's a public material. So whatever I share today here is also public material that you can find it from online. include I mean from my references just now as well. Okay. Which also you can see here, they are using a number of the all these like example OpenAI Whisper. Whisper is another API to do the speech to text and then continue with some recommendation, come out everything. This is how they store at the back, this one. Okay, why here the use case here I use video is because first video is very complicated. It's come with the images which already complicated and then with multiple images forming the time. So once with the time and even more complicated. Before this, right, my research background was all about image and video processing. Long time ago, we were using PCL, this thing. That's why just I mentioned it as well. But then, right, nowadays with this, right, we tend to find that it is much faster, more efficient. Then, of course, that one of the way to check whether two, whatever they say, in this case, two images or two videos, right, are similar to each other or not. Based on all the vector just now, all we need to do is just apply back the fundamental mathematical theory, cosine. So which one we call it cosine similarity. So when these two are close to each other, of course, their dot product is 0. Okay, then we can get this one, the cos theta. Sorry, the other product, cos theta, when the theta is 0, then cos 0 is 1. Okay, the next one is just a simple demo. You can also, what I call it, scan it and take a look at here. Let me see whether I can reopen it or not. So this is just a, thank you very much for the technical support. So this is just a simple FAQ chatbot, and at the back end, right, what you can see the first two, right, is that if you were to create your own simple FAQ question and answer, like example here, I just type it simple one. Okay, so like I said just now, the FAQ here is you try to link your question to whatever the database is stored, but here for demo purpose, I just put a simple one. It is just only one question. Where are you? And here is that, oh sorry, where is here? So Monash University. So when I ask where are you, relatively because the corresponding vector, right, is quite similar to the where is here. So therefore, it already answer Monash University. If you want to give a try on this one, you can go to my GitHub also, try to download the code and then try to play around. You may just use any like Google Colab to try it. And if let's say I ask something that is beyond, then you will just answer it's not relevant accordingly. On the other hand, right, just now, I think need to reshare again this one. Okay, if you go to the next from my slide, right, go to next, there is another one. Feel free to click this link. This is the actual one based on my suggested FAQ. Probably some of us have forgotten what is my suggested. It was so popular last time, right? And people worry about here and there. And once you enter here, you can just ask a question like example. Is this secure? Inside the my suggested, right, there is such a question, similar question. So it will answer you the so-called formal answer. Okay, so same thing if you ask beyond, right, then you will also arrange accordingly and say that this is beyond or this is not relevant. So feel free to try. So in the end, of course, the back end, if you ask me, there is like, we need to adjust the temperature. It's a combo of the something like a LLM together with the embedding, everything all together. And then it come out this. All right. Okay. I think that's all my short presentation and also sharing here. As promised, nothing too technical, no bombastic equation or all those, although there's some bombastic diagram. So just maybe I open to the FAQ, the Q&A. Any questions or any sharing here? Anyone? If no question, right, thank you very much for attending this talk, and please feel free to connect to me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Yu, for the presentation. Hopefully, you guys understand a bit what is vector embedding and how is it used in large language model and how important it is about this vector embedding. So, like I mentioned, there will be food. I know you guys are hungry. So we take a 10 minutes break. We'll come back in 10 minutes. The food is available outside, is it? The food is available outside. Since it's raining, not many people turn up. I think you can eat more. So be happy with that. Yeah, eat a lot, as much as you can. Okay, but don't come back and sleep later, because we have a superstar speaker later, Hafidz. Okay, I'm sure you guys come to listen to him. Okay, and take a lot of post a lot of Twitter or X posts later. Please go and have your dinner outside, pizza, and then come back in 10 minutes time. Thank you very much. Continue with the next speaker. So usually in my event, I also share some of the latest news of the month related to AI or ML. So for those who just joined, if you have never not aware, we have a Facebook page where we have around 9,200 members there. So if you're not a member, please join this Facebook group. So all the events that we do, all the latest news resources, okay, we will share in the Facebook group page. At the same time, we also have a Discord page. If you want, you can actually find the Discord page in the Facebook page if you follow it. Okay. Okay. So, like I said, when we come to event for this AI ML user group, usually I will try to round up what are the latest news of the month related to AI or machine learning. That hopefully after this event, you will actually be updated some of the latest news. So if you want, you can share, you can take a scan of this QR code. Later, maybe some of the news that I share will be interesting to you, then probably you can follow up. Okay, so like I said, one of the events that we have done for the AI ML Malaysia user group is the ML Olympiad. So for the month of March, we have conducted the online hackathon, ended on 31st of March. So we are very happy that this ML Olympiad, we have around 89 team submission, and then we have 18 notebooks shared in the Kaggle hackathon. Then we also have the top 3 winners, where we will probably do a prize giving ceremony in our May meetup. Okay, so the winners will get some swag, okay, sponsored by Google. So the swag now are being sent over from Korea, hopefully by next week. Then once I receive it, then we will pass the top 3 winners the swag. Okay, so what is the purpose of having this hackathon? The purpose is, of course, the organizer. The organizer actually come up with a problem statement, and then we find the data, and then we actually do a lot of pre-processing of data. So the purpose of it is we want to make sure that there are a lot of people who are practicing data science or AI or ML in Malaysia. We want them to actually come together, form a team, and actually help to resolve some of the problem that is inside this hackathon. So we are happy to see that we have received a lot of submission, and then we're also happy to see the top 3 winners are all Malaysian, and then they will be getting the prize next month. Okay, so these are some of the latest news that might be interesting to you. For example, in large language model, I think 2 days ago, Microsoft just released the latest language model, which is considered to be the small language model. So as we know, language model is getting bigger and bigger, more and more parameter. So there is like the 8 billion parameter, there is 72 billion parameter. But actually, with the amount of data that we have, okay, we are also moving to something what we call small language model. Okay, small language model is also very something that people are looking forward, because it will be more cost effective to train a model, and these models are small enough that you can run in small devices like all these embedded devices or your phone. So Microsoft actually released this Phi 3 open source model that is very small, and it's actually performing quite very well compared to other models. So if you can see, you can see this here. They are performing quite reasonably well compared to Llama model and also Mistral model. Okay, so imagine now you are going to develop some language model that you want to deploy on the embedded devices like your phone or whatever. Okay, so with all these small language model, there's something you might want to look into if you want to deploy all these model into smaller devices that actually require smaller amount of power and then smaller of processing power. Okay. The next thing is Google has in the Google recent event, which is the Cloud Next event in Las Vegas, Google has launched something what we call Vertex AI Agent Builder. So as we know, one of the application of large language model is using agent, because large language model, it will not perform much tasks without involving agents. So with agents, you can do many things. Okay, now similar to other cloud services like Azure or AWS, Google also has its own agent builder. With this agent builder, you do not need to do any coding or low code or no code. Basically, you can connect with all these agents, and then you can use all these large language model to perform tasks, and then you build your application. Okay. Okay, the next biggest news, I think that recently Meta AI has also released Llama 3. So Llama language model from Meta is one of the model that actually drive all these other fine-tuned model. Do you know there's Malaysia, we also have our own large language model? What's the name, do you know? Malam, is it? So by the company called Mesotolika. So if you have read Malam, the large language model for Malaysia is actually fine-tuned to actually work with Malay language and some of the local language. If you read all this fine-tuned model, the base is actually using Llama. So with Meta releasing all this Llama 1, Llama 2, and now with Llama 3, okay, it actually helped to drive all this fine-tuned model. Okay, so as we know now, Llama has released two variants of the model, the 8 billion parameter and 70 billion parameter. I'm not sure whether you have watched the video by Mark Zuckerberg where he announced Llama 3. He actually told that they are still training Llama 3 now. They're going to release another biggest model out there. You know how many parameter? 400 billion parameter. Okay, so now we have 8 billion parameter and 70 billion parameter. And Zuckerberg said there's another biggest model coming out, which is the 4 billion parameter. Anybody have downloaded Llama before or not? 70 billion parameter, you know how big is the file or not? Anybody downloaded that before? Okay, so you guys have heard but never try. 70 billion parameter large language model is about 300 gigs. Imagine 400 billion parameter, how many gigs? Okay, so I downloaded, my 1 tera hard disk gone already. I regretted. Okay, but this is what is happening now. You know, there are two extremes there. One extreme is people moving towards 400 billion parameter, and then another extreme is people trying to say, we do not need so big a large language model. We want to a small language model. That's what the Microsoft is doing with Phi 3. So if you look at the comparison, Llama is actually quite doing very well. Llama 3 better than Gemma from Google, better than Mistral from this Mistral. So it's actually in terms of performance, it's actually doing very well. And the good thing about Llama is open source. Then in terms of other evaluation, it's also doing quite well compared to Mistral, GPT 3.5, Llama 2, and even Cloud Sonnet. Okay, and next thing is, we know that Meta is the company behind Facebook, behind Instagram, and behind WhatsApp. One good thing is, Meta is also the company that released Llama. So last time we always cursed that Zuckerberg is not doing well for the whole industry. The good thing is now is release of all this open source model, and now with all this Llama 3 being released, Meta is also adding all this image generative AI into their product. So Meta is also releasing a real-time AI image generation to WhatsApp, and sooner or later it all will come to our other product like Instagram and also Facebook. Okay, so this is a good thing about Meta AI, the company itself. Okay, the last one is a paper. So there's a paper written in Archive. So they talk about using synthetic data. Okay, as far as we know, all these large language model, we use a lot of data to train the model. Okay, until now, probably there's no longer new data to train the large language model. Okay, so what will happen? Like now, Meta said they want to train 400 billion parameter. Okay, sooner or later there's no longer new data to train. Then what will happen? Then you need to use synthetic data. Then it means you need to generate synthetic data to train your model. So in this paper, it talks about what is the best practices. How do you make sure the data that you use, the synthetic data to train your model, what is the best way to use all this synthetic data? As far as we know, garbage in, garbage out, GIGO. Okay, if now the data that's available outside there is probably generated by generative AI. Okay, so if you have a lot of generative AI data now to feed back into the loop to train your generative model, okay, then you probably will, your model will start to learn a lot of crap. Okay, so how do you make sure that all this data being synthetically generated is good enough to train your model? Okay, there's also news like Adobe recently actually pay people to generate video, so they can actually human generate new video to use it to fit to train the model. So this is the next things that most of people are thinking about. How do we generate more data, fresh data that is good enough to train the model? Okay, so that is the thing that this paper will talk about. What's the best practice and what's the lesson learned if you want to use synthetic data to train the large language model? Okay, so I think that's the end of my sharing for this. The next I'll pass to Hafidz to talk about his sharing. So Hafidz, do you want to connect your laptop? Is it a Google slide or what? Then better share the link with me in the WhatsApp that I can use in Step.
Okay, but is it? I need my presenter notes. Is it going to be displayed as well?
Presenter note.
Yeah.
Then you can open your presenter note here and then use the laptop. Okay. So stop sharing. You send WhatsApp to me. How come this is sharing? I stop sharing already. Oh, because this one.
Yeah, I don't think it's too sure. I think just hang on.
Yeah, okay, never mind. Wait for him to share. Well, you need to actually click to anyone with a view because it seems like not share. Is it shared by email or what? Because usually it's anyone with a link can actually view.
Oh, okay.
You see, I need to request access. Let me try to refresh. Patient, technical problem. Okay, let me refresh now. Okay. Let me share here. This one, is it?
No, I think it's
Do slideshow first. Let's see. Where?
this one. The first one.
Oh, okay. Slideshow. Put your notes here.
Test. Hi. Assalamualaikum. All right. Can I have? So who among you guys here are essentially students and not really working yet? Can you just raise up your hands? Okay, just want to see a quick check. Any data scientists? All right. Data engineers? No data engineers. All right. Any managers here? We've got a few. Okay. All right. All right. So I think for the managers this might be something that's quite familiar to you guys. So today I'm going to be talking about data science leadership paradox, navigating expectations versus reality. It's a mouthful, yes. Essentially, what the talk is about is the dilemmas that managers face as they upgrade themselves to the leadership positions. So these are the kinds of scenarios that you'll face when you move up, and basically I'm here to share a few things about it. All right. My name is Hafidz. I've been working since 2008, around 15 years or so now. Most of my years are spent in the telecom industry. I did a lot of Unix and SQL in my younger years. Studied data science since 2015, a lot of pipelining, the whole 9 yards. Joined Bank Islam in 2020 as a data scientist, and then was at that point was the point where I became a manager, quote unquote. And now I head the growth initiatives for the bank, BU by Bank Islam. So for those of you yang macam tak pernah dengar pasal BU Bank Islam, feel free to Google it. It's a new digital offering. It's different from Go. There's a lot of nice stuff inside. If you can just download, then maybe by the end of this talk, you could probably have open a Bank Islam account already, just by around like 50 minutes clicking around. So I mentioned earlier just now that I was the first data hire, kan? As a matter of fact, that was the reason I joined Bank Islam. They gave me that opportunity, so I went. Before that, I was mostly an IC, individual contributor, for those of you yang macam tak familiar with the term. I felt that it was time for me to try something new, to learn something more. It was a scary experience, but I felt that I had to do it. So this talk today is essentially about me trying to recall the lessons that I've garnered over the years, and for those of you yang macam thinking about promoting yourselves and applying for that managerial role, so this is basically for you guys. Right. So when I joined Bank Islam in 2020, and we wanted to build a digital bank. Bank was called BU Bank Islam. It's launched now, back in 2022. But back in when I joined 2020, there was nothing. We have a cloud environment that we can play with. However, there was like no data, no code, no app. So what does a data scientist do when there's no data to do anything with, right? You're supposed to run analysis. And then you tend to get requests from the product team, right? Hafidz, can you run a forecast of our prospected growth in the next 5 years, right? So what do you do? I mean, there is no historical data. For those of you yang macam selalu buat modeling, you would be aware that okay, to run a forecast, you need historical data. But in this case, we don't have data. So how do you work with that? So the first thing that I learned when I did the job was to be comfortable with incomplete information and using what I have around me to still help the stakeholders make decisions, right? So there are multiple ways to do this. Maybe you could try find a proxy to the thing that you're trying to predict. So in my case, I still have data with the incumbent bank. So Bank Islam, the Go app still have some data inside. The demographic might be different. The target segment that BU by Bank Islam is addressing is young adults, mostly 18 to 25 to 30 years old. But those segments are not that many inside the Go, inside the incumbent bank, where the target segment, the main target segment for that is more on the mature kind, the 30 and above, where people apply home financing and stuff. But something is better than nothing, right? And then you could also refer to industry benchmarks, market surveys, market research on how does a typical fintech startup grow year on year. What's the expected rate if certain things would happen? There are assumptions that you can make, right? And yeah, so making calculated, structured assumptions, and then being able to relay the parameters based on factual evidence outside. So macam census data, you can bring that inside. So a lot of things actually, you can make your guesstimate a lot more accurate, but it has to be really structured lah. So you cannot just simply macam make one vague assumptions and then make a projection from there. But if you make a series of calculated assumptions, then you could eventually maybe not get 100% correct, but you would get around 50 to 60% there. So this is for those of you yang macam nak thinking of building a startup. So this is probably the things that you would need to consider when doing that forecast of yours. There are also macam startups out there yang for those of you yang macam familiar with the Malaysian startup scene, if you have ever heard of a startup called Vase.ai, so they run a market research outfit. So I use their help as well to basically gauge certain things. Macam let's say we want to, of course, as a bank, you want to give out debit cards, and our debit cards come in 5 different colors. So when you want to stock up debit cards, kan, so macam before you sell, of course you have to keep an inventory. But which color yang akan appeals to our potential customers most? So we run a survey, of course. So those kind of data, of course, does not exist from anywhere. So that's the initiative that you can take to garner intelligence and make more calculated decisions. So that's doing data science with no data. So that's number one. And then okay, let me try to move this mouse kat sini. Okay, in a data team, of course, you need a data platform. But how do you decide what to build? So I think most of us here, kalau you memang engineering centric, you would tend to read a lot of engineering blogs, like Netflix blogs, punya engineering blog, Pinterest. I think Grab also have some really good articles. But so I think I'm guilty of this as well. So when going into the stage of, okay, Hafidz, now you need to build a data platform, our team needs to have access to the data. So the first thing that you read, of course, is you get information from these sources. But people forget that when Netflix publishes this article, right, they are already at a way farther maturity than what a typical startup looks like. They're probably dah sampai Series A. They're not even pre-seed when they release this article. So the technical maturity that they have at that juncture is way farther than what we are at. So at Biobank Islam at 2020, we're just getting started. So if we were to follow the advices given in that sort of article, it would take years or for us to get to that level of complexity, and it's probably overkilling it. And our stakeholders would probably just wondering, why aren't we getting access to the data? It's so simple. It's not even it's not even big data, right? We haven't even started. So macam those are the considerations lah. So what ended up happening is there is an operational DB, right? That basically powers the app. We just replicated it and then slap a BI tool on top. That's our data stack. It lasted us for a good 6 months to 1 year, which is good enough. And we only changed the architecture once things started breaking, which is fine, really. So you need to be fine with evolving your data stack as and when. You don't really need to strive for the best practices straight away from the get-go. Take your time and build things as you need them. And then when you have data platforms, stakeholders will come. Of course, then you've got a data platform, you've got a BI tool, you want to build dashboards. Those dashboards needs to be populated with matrix and KPI. As a data team, our job is, well, the initial assumptions, right? Or I guess it's been taken as a norm. Data teams are treated as a support function. So you get requests, you fulfill. You get support, you get requests, you fulfill. So initially, that's what I essentially did. Talk to my product managers and stakeholders, guys from the operation. So what sort of KPIs do you need? What sort of metrics do you want to track? They're not really sure what they want, actually. So this discussion, passing of balls, back and forth, it went on for quite some time, until it dawned on me that, these guys, this bunch of guys in our outfit, they've never worked in a startup before. They've never been in a situation where it's a 0 to 1. They're familiar with a space where it's 10 to 100 or 100 to 1,000, where things are mature and people know how to, the business is already running. But when things are starting off, like, what do you track, right? Things like, and even more so, this is supposed to work. We're supposed to run like a startup. So things like CPA or MAU, DAU. So what are these things? How do you make sense of them when you track them on a daily basis, right? So, I mean, to be fair, they're not familiar with the scene. I'm not familiar with the scene. But what we can do as data practitioners is, of course, try to empathize and understand, like, take it upon ourselves to also learn about what's common out there and iterate. So we propose, and then of course you get into a back and forth discussion as well, and then eventually you would come to a final steady state on what sort of matrix that we both can agree on, and they can take action and use on daily basis. So that's essentially matrix, and empathizing with stakeholders, because more often than not, sometimes they don't know what they want, and it's not really because they're ignorant. It's they're just not used to working in 0 to 1. I'm not sure. Maybe it also happens in a 10 to 100 or 1,000 to 10,000. Maybe the managers knows more, or the ones that are here. Okay, so that's Okay, so moving on to the next. Okay, so this one, yeah, insights take time to deliver, but stakeholders can't wait that long, right? Any insights, they need fast. So every now and then, in BU, right, we in the data team, we run data cadences every 2 weeks or so. So we run it for like an hour, where people from compliance would come in, people from support would come in, product managers would sit in. Sometimes even our GCDO would just listen in as well, which is nice. And then we basically share the learnings that we've garnered for the past like sprint, and we show them what's interesting about the company, that's using based on the data. We showed them some charts and whatnot. And then of course you get to a Q&A session. Hey, it's great that you are showing all of this, but maybe you could take that chart, slice it across the gender groups, or what about if we pivot it this way, right? Add some age groups in there. What would happen? What do you think? Can you do it quick? I'm gonna need that insights tomorrow because I've got a board committee meeting that I need to show this. This looks interesting. And you're like, no, I don't think that can happen, right? We've got pipelines to build to get the data into the dashboards. It's not that simple. It's not that straightforward. But of course, like there's that dance that you need to balance between insights and managing stakeholders' expectation. Yeah, we should be more agile. Yeah, of course. That's not to say that they're wrong for asking the insights for the insights in the first place. And in fact, it's good that they're asking because they see the value in the data. However, I guess they need more. They need to be more educated in the efforts that is needed to bring the data into insights. So that's where I think from our end, what we do is that constant education on what we're doing, on what the status are to the stakeholders. So we do that often. So for example, if my colleagues were to run an experiment, so we would make an announcement like to the company. We are running an experiment on this, and we're expecting results 2 weeks from now. So don't ask about the insights today. Ask about it like 2 weeks or 3 weeks from now when we have ready and just processed the output. So it's coming, but wait. And then of course we also took initiatives to improve the data readiness. Of course, like if we are releasing a new feature, we try to anticipate, of course, as best as we can, what sort of questions that might come based on that new release. So we build a proper pipeline for it. Sometimes it's hard to anticipate what people want, but those are something like if we have bandwidth, then we try to plug it in, and then make the improvements incremental. So if the pipeline is not ready, then maybe what the stakeholder needs to know is when is it coming. So sharing the roadmap of how we are susun the task, like this thing is going to happen in which release. So that gives them comfort that to know that, okay, probably this is not the right time to ask these sort of questions. Maybe I'm going to ask them in 2 weeks' time, right? So it's about managing expectations and educating our stakeholders. And then this would be my, I guess, final insights in terms of the paradoxes. As a data leader, we should empower our team to do work on their own, or should we maintain oversight so that we can maintain the level of quality of the output? On the one hand, of course, if you give them empowerment, they'll be more happy at their job. They feel that sense of ownership. They'll probably stay longer, hopefully, I hope, right? Talents are scarce these days. But on the other hand, if you don't, maintain oversight of their work, then that chart might be wrong. Certain analysis might make no sense. or they could even spill some PII data to God knows where, and we might get into some legal trouble. So how do we find that balance as data leaders? So yeah, that this piece of quote is something that I really like from Jensen, the NVIDIA CEO. I wish upon you ample doses of pain and suffering, because pain, based on research, it improves recall. So we learn best when we experience hardship. Not to say that I want people to actually feel pain, but have hands-on work. And if I were to if you were to maintain oversight, too much oversight, right? That's like helicopter parenting. So I have 3 kids. So I try not to helicopter parent my kids that much, and I see benefits by just letting them be independent kids and just play outside and whatnot. So where do we find the balance? So for me, I'll be speaking for myself. Oversight is needed when people are new to the field, but as I'm able to observe how they grow and mature in terms of their work quality, that's when I'll start to wean them off and just let them be on their merry way, because they need to experience the I guess quote unquote suffering of exploring data and just swim in the ocean, because and if let's say I were to dictate that much, then they can't come up with that narrative. So data scientists, data analysts, we talk about coming up with narratives when we do analysis. So where does this narrative usually comes from? So this usually comes from experience, having explored the data for a very, very long time. And if managers are to basically sit and just watch their subordinates, or you should be slicing the data this way, not that way, this way, this way, this way, then they wouldn't be able to pick up on the subtleties and nuances of the data and be able to analyze data on their own. So I believe certain level of pain and suffering is needed, but at the very early stage, of course, some guidance is needed. So a balance on that end. Yep. Basically, I'm just ready to wrap this up. Hold on, let me. Okay. All right. So just to do a bit of recap. Paradoxes. There are ways to make decisions without historical data. Complexity in building data stack depends on maturity of the company. So if your company is not mature, probably not worth it to think about building that Netflix stack. When you are liaising with your stakeholders, try to be a consultant, not a like support function. Try to propose, and then you will get some feedback, and then counter propose, get that cycle going. Education, awareness helps in managing people's expectation. They want things fast, but they need to be aware. They need to be educated. And there is also the need to balance between oversight and empowering and letting your team feel pain. Principles, right? In dealing with future contradictions. So, I mean, of course, the 5 things that I'm listing here is not the entire gamut of the contradictions that you'll face when you become managers, or even now, right? These are probably things that you're already considering. So, some principles, I guess, helps to be that guardrail. So, having some data is better than no data. When we make decisions, if there is no prior data, historical data, at least try to find some proxy. At least then you will have a benchmark where you could maybe tweak in the future if, let's say, the outcome that you are getting is wrong. So you know that, okay, I based my decision off of these assumptions. The output that I got was wrong. I maybe need to tweak this or find some other proxy data to to rely on. And then the next principle is different considerations applies at different stage of the company. So when you work, you will feel frustrated that your company is not performing at the level that you're expecting. So probably you come into the workforce, you're expecting that your company performs at Silicon Valley level, but then you realize that they don't even use cloud. It hurts. Sorry. Okay. So you need to have that awareness of the maturity stage of your company and react accordingly, manage the expectations. Certain tech stacks are suitable for different stage. Not everything deserves a modern data stack. Yeah, try to help others make decisions. Be the evangelist. Like if you want to go to the next level, try be an evangelist. At the end of the day, data teams, our roles are to help the frontliners, the salesperson, the marketers, the product managers to make decisions. So try and do that. Be proactive on that. Have empathy, of course. We may be frustrated, but that frustration, that the perceived ignorance comes from a certain place, and the faster that you have that realization and have that level of understanding, the better your life would be. You don't have to complain so much. Yeah. And then last but not least, when you become a manager, of course, the main goal of being a manager is to raise other leaders, right? You're not really a leader if you can't develop other leaders, and that leader should also develop other leaders. So what sort of traits can you teach your subordinates such that they are able to lead, build other leaders? So those are the things that needs to be imparted, and that's the basically guardrail that I'm trying to share with you folks. So yeah, that's about it. Thanks. There's a QR code here if you wanna install our app, right? I'm head of growth after all, right? So I need to sell. If you wanna connect with me, can find me on LinkedIn. I also write on Medium. My tag in Twitter is @Ikanes. I'm open for Q&A. All right. What is education depends on the symptoms that I'm seeing. Sometimes people are just not aware of the state of the company. There are things that you can do to influence that. I think recently, what we're doing at our end, and we just started this year, is we are releasing newsletters. So every month we would release, like, these are the state of things in our company. These are our the number of growth that we are achieving. These are our deposits. These are the problems that we're seeing. These are the tactics that worked when we did marketing. Doing this gives people the sense of belonging, that they know the problems of the company, and if they are willing to help, then they would. Because of course, like, who would want their own company to go down, unless you're like really sick person. So there are things that you can do to educate some people. Maybe if it's about what's a good example? Do you have a sentence that you're seeing at your company that you'd like to share? Yeah. Okay. I would probably just continue that discussion. Like, because the personality of the person that is asking that question is usually it's a mover, right? They like to push for things. They like to execute. But of course, they come from a place of being a perfectionist. They like to see things happen and be completed. But they also understand circumstances that needs to happen if you want to get from A to Z. It's only that no one has had the patience before to explain the steps needed to get from A to Z, because people are frustrated maybe with the attitude. But the underlying curiosity is still there. They want to understand, and they will keep on pushing. The onus is on data leaders to have the patience to get from point A to point Z. This is what needs to happen, and of course they're gonna ask again and again, and you have to guide them line by line. And I think documentation is needed in that sense, because what's gonna happen is that a week from that discussion, they're gonna forget that they've ever asked that sort of questions. So if meetings are minuted or recorded, that would be ideal, because you can always refer back. Based on our discussions, these are the things that we've discussed, and you understood that these are the things that we've discussed. And that's how I would probably manage things. All right. Any other questions from the floor? Yeah. Wow, I probably just use ChatGPT and explain like I'm 5, right? Yeah. Yeah. So I haven't encountered that problem yet, so I haven't really thought about how to solve that. But yeah, I'd probably just sit down and have them list their concerns on a piece of paper, and just trash it out somewhere or on a whiteboard. I find discussing with a whiteboard really handy, because sometimes I'm not able to articulate stuff, but I can draw. So when I draw, people can see, and then we can agree on what's on the board, and we can just start from there. Yeah. Sorry if I'm not answering the question properly. Right.
Okay, any more questions? Yeah.
If you're the first data hire, or if you're looking to hire a data scientist, hire a generalist, ones that is not too focused on like specialized in one particular field, but not really aware of other things. So a generalist is good. But the second hire that you would need is a data engineer, because if someone is doing the strategic thinking of what needs to be placed, someone else needs to do the executing. And if you take on that job, if you assign that executing job to the data scientist, then he wouldn't have the bandwidth to do the thinking and the doing at the same time. So you end up really like wasting your runway. So if possible, like hire a generalist who can lay down the tactics, and then get that data engineer to help execute them.
Okay, so I think time is also quite late. So thank you very much for coming. So like I said, actually, when I asked Hafidz to be a speaker, he asked me what should I talk about. Then I said, you help a lot of people answering NGL in Twitter, and he actually very active in Twitter. So I said, you helping a lot of people in Twitter, you can talk a lot of things. Then I said, since you have a lot of experience, especially starting the team from Bank Islam, so I think that will be something interesting. So I think what he has shared, definitely something that is very valuable. I don't know whether you gain what insight that he tried to tell you. Basically, when you start from a team, there's a lot of different expectations from inside your team and also from a stakeholder. And maybe you have a team people who have, they don't even understand what's data science. And then they think that data science or AI is doing magic. I have a lot of data, why can't you just predict this for me? And then they want it instantly. And then these are the challenges that most people will face because we are technical people. To us, we can explain to them, but they cannot understand. Say, oh, you're telling me all formulas, I don't understand. Just tell me when can I make millions from this data, that's all. So I think these are things that the challenges that we face. I think hopefully Hafidz has encapsulated all those things that in his talk just now. So thank you very much to Dr. Yu and Hafidz for the talk today. And also thank you for you guys for attending. So like I said, we are very serious about having a meetup every month. So if you are joining the Facebook page, we also have a call for speaker form. So if you think that you have something to share, I'm sure you have something to share, but if you think that you are brave enough to share what you think that you want to share, please fill out the form, because every month we have a meetup and then we constantly looking for speakers. We at least have looking for 2 speakers for 1 meetup. Okay? So that's the end from my side. So thank you for coming, and hopefully we'll see you again for the next meetup. And then today, Ming Hao has already recorded this whole event. So for those people who sign up, actually for this event, Ming Hao told me we can fit 250 people. So I opened 200 tickets, and then Ming Hao ordered, I think 100 plus food. 200 people food. And then how many people turn up? You count yourself lah. Okay, this is what happened when people simply sign up, and then because it's free, nobody turn up, and then we have a wastage of big amount of food there today. Ming Hao, is the food still available? If they can take, okay, the food is still available. If you are on the way back, you think of maybe you want to think hard of the problem today, maybe you'll be hungry later for supper. Please take the food on the way back. Okay, thank you again for coming. See you again in next meetup.